You never think it's going to happen to you. You hear stories, see them in movies, maybe even witness a friend go through it, but you always assume your own life, your own marriage, is made of sturdier stuff. That was me. My name's Ethan Caldwell, 36 years old, a software developer living in suburban Charlotte, North Carolina. Married for 6 years to Lena, the woman I thought would never betray me. Until she did. And the worst part? It wasn't some rich guy, not her boss, not some college ex, no. It was a delivery guy. It started, ironically enough, with something so ordinary, a package. I remember the first time I saw him. He drove a rusted-out blue Dodge van, windows tinted like a strip club. He wasn't what you'd expect from a corporate delivery service. No uniform. Just jeans, a tight white t-shirt, and those damn aviator sunglasses. Confident. A little too confident. "Hey," he said with a southern drawl, handing the brown Amazon box to Lena. She laughed, not the usual polite laugh she'd give a stranger, but the playful one, the one she used to reserve just for me. Her voice softened when she said, "Thank you," like she was flirting without even knowing it. Or maybe she did know. At first, I brushed it off. I was working from home, had a dozen meetings every day, and the guy was just a delivery man. Why would she be interested in someone like him? But the deliveries kept coming. Boxes of things we didn't need. A fancy cheese board. Scented candles. A robe she claimed was on sale. I asked her why we were suddenly ordering so much random stuff. "Oh, come on, babe," she smiled. "Just making the house feel cozier." I didn't press it. I should have. The third time I saw him, he winked at her. I was standing right there. I watched her blush like a schoolgirl. And for the first time in our marriage, I felt a chill run down my spine. That night, I asked her casually, "Hey, that delivery guy, you know him?" Lena's back was turned as she poured wine. "No." "Why?" "Just, he seems friendly." She laughed, still with her back to me. "He's a delivery guy, Ethan. Don't be weird." I let it go. Because that's what trusting husbands do. We let it go, until it's too late. I started noticing changes in her. She started showering in the middle of the day. She never used to do that. She'd spend extra time on her makeup, even though she wasn't going anywhere. Once, I came downstairs and caught her spraying perfume at 2 p.m. I asked if she was heading out. She said, "Nope, just wanted to feel good today." But her eyes flicked to the clock. She was expecting someone. She started guarding her phone like it was national security. Turned off notifications. Changed her lock screen passcode. When I asked about it, she said, there was a weird glitch with my calendar app. I had to reset it. I nodded, pretending to believe her. But deep down, I knew something was off. Then came the Saturday I'll never forget. It was my niece's birthday party. Lena made a big deal about how she had a migraine and couldn't make it. I told her to rest and kissed her on the forehead. She didn't even flinch. While I was gone, something gnawed at me. I had this gut feeling. I know how that sounds. But it was like a storm cloud hovering above me, whispering, "Go home. Now." So I left the party early. Told my sister that Lena felt really sick and I needed to check on her. Drove home in silence, every traffic light taking an eternity. When I turned onto our street, I saw it. That blue van, parked 2 houses down, tucked under the shade like it was trying not to be seen. I parked a few houses away, left my car, and walked the sidewalk slowly, like a man approaching his own execution. My hands trembled. The front door was slightly ajar. At first, I thought maybe she just forgot to close it. But as I stepped inside, I heard it. The unmistakable sound of laughter, hushed and intimate. Not the laughter you share with a friend. This was bedroom laughter. I moved quietly. The hallway to our bedroom seemed longer than ever. Then I heard her voice, soft, breathy. "You shouldn't stay too long. The man's voice followed, cocky and amused. Relax, babe. He's not coming back anytime soon. I stood outside our bedroom door, listening to my wife, Mylena, moan for another man. And that's where my heart cracked open. I didn't kick the door in. I didn't scream. I just stood there paralyzed, humiliated, and hollow. I backed away slowly, left the house, and sat in my car for almost an hour. She called me later, pretending everything was fine. Said her migraine had gone down and asked how the party was. I told her it was fine. That I'd bring home some leftovers. And right there, in that moment, I realized I was living with a stranger. The woman I married was gone. But I wasn't going to confront her yet. No. I needed proof. And I was going to get it. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to her, listening to her breathe, slow, steady, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. She turned in her sleep and pressed her back against my chest, curling into me like she still belonged there. My arms stayed limp at my sides. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding like a drumbeat that refused to end. There's something profoundly cruel about realizing you've been replaced by a man who brings packages. And yet, I said nothing. Because I needed to know everything first. I needed more than suspicion. I needed more than just that van on the street and voices behind a door. I needed proof that would break the illusion and burn her lies to ash. The next morning, I acted like nothing happened. Feeling better? I asked as she sipped her coffee at the kitchen counter. Much, she said with a fake little smile, eyes darting to her phone like clockwork. Thanks for letting me rest yesterday. Of course, I said, returning the smile. I'll be working from home all week. Big deadline. Her fingers froze mid-text, just for a second. Then she nodded. Cool. I'll be out running errands mostly. That was line number 1. There would be many. I installed cameras that afternoon. I told her I wanted better security, we had break-ins in the neighborhood, I said. She shrugged, distracted, scrolling on her phone. I placed one discreet little device above the doorframe of my home office, with a clear view of the entry hall. Another was hidden in a fake smoke detector above the living room. And one in our bedroom. Yes, our bedroom. I felt sick doing it. But I had to. Not because I wanted revenge, not yet, but because truth is oxygen. And I was suffocating in her silence. The first few days? Nothing. No visits. No strange sounds. No half-naked couriers walking through the door. Just Lena, floating around the house like nothing was off. But on Thursday, I got my first crack in the mirror. I was upstairs pretending to work, eyes flicking between fake spreadsheets and the security app on my laptop. Just after 2 p.m., the doorbell rang. There he was, him. Same jeans. Same smug t-shirt. Same smirk. I watched as Lena opened the door with too much enthusiasm. She wasn't in her normal house clothes today, no sweatpants, no messy bun. She wore lipstick. Her hair was curled. She wore the black tank top that hugged her curves just enough to say something without saying it. He stepped inside. No package in hand. That said enough. They spoke quietly. He leaned in. She laughed, but this time it wasn't innocent. It was soft, inviting. She led him through the living room and into the kitchen. I couldn't hear what they said, but I saw the way she touched his arm. I saw how he leaned on the island counter, relaxed, like a man who had already been invited once before. And then, they hugged. Too long. Too close. His hand on her waist. Her fingers tracing his back. She looked toward the stairs. My heart slammed against my ribs. Then she whispered something into his ear, and they walked toward the bedroom. Our bedroom. I couldn't breathe. There's a particular brand of pain that can't be screamed out or punched into a wall. It just sits in your chest like concrete, thick and cold, weighing everything down. I didn't rush down. I didn't confront them. Instead, I waited. They stayed in the bedroom for 18 minutes. I counted every second like a prisoner watching his own execution draw near. When he left, she didn't walk him to the door. She waited a full 5 minutes before re-entering the kitchen, fixed her hair in the mirror, and poured herself wine. It wasn't even 3 p.m. That night, I copied the footage to a separate hard drive. I watched it again. Paused it frame by frame. I wasn't just watching them, I was watching her. How her body language changed. How her voice softened. The way she looked at him like I was already gone. And yet, when I came downstairs for dinner, she smiled at me. Kissed me on the cheek. "How's work?" she asked. "Busy," I said. Lie for a lie. Over the next few days, it became a pattern. Mondays, Thursdays, and sometimes even Saturdays, the courier came. Always just after lunch. Always when she thought I was on a Zoom call. She'd place a fake delivery order the night before. Just enough to justify his presence. But he didn't bring anything new. Just an empty smile and a wandering hand. And she welcomed him every time. Once, I saw her take him to the guest bathroom as if it made it less sinful. Another time, they didn't even wait to get to the bedroom. She kissed him in the hallway, lips desperate, eyes closed like it was the only real moment she lived for. I started saving every clip. Every sound. Every whisper. But here's what they didn't know. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to confront them in some dramatic screamfest. I was going to build a case. A story they couldn't deny. A truth they couldn't escape. I wanted her to feel everything I was feeling multiplied by 1,000. I started collecting more than video. I hacked into her tablet easily, since she used my birthday as the passcode. Found messages. Heart emojis. Photos. She had sent him a selfie in my hoodie. He replied, "Can't wait to take that off you again." Again. I even followed him one night. Waited until he left our house, hopped in my car, and stayed far enough not to be noticed. He drove to a crappy little studio on the east side of town. Not exactly a catch. Not rich, not even particularly good-looking without the sunglasses. But somehow, he had her. And I had nothing. But I wouldn't be a victim. No. I would be the author of her downfall. And it would all begin at her sister's anniversary party next week. She'd never see it coming. The night of the party, the air itself felt loaded. Like electricity before a thunderstorm. It was her sister, Rachel's, 10-year wedding anniversary, a big deal in her family. Everyone was there. All the cousins. Her parents. Even old neighbors I hadn't seen in years. The house was glowing with lights and music. Champagne flowing, laughter bouncing between walls. Everyone wore that shallow smile reserved for occasions where you're supposed to look happy, even if you're crumbling inside. And Lena? She was radiant. Wearing a low-cut green dress she hadn't touched in years, the one I bought for our second anniversary. Her hair fell in waves. Her makeup was flawless. But the most stunning thing wasn't how she looked, it was how well she acted. Like she wasn't keeping a monumental lie under that painted-on smile. I stood by the bar, swirling my glass of bourbon, watching her move through the crowd. She laughed with her sister. Hugged her mom. Flirted with her sister's husband, Daniel. And in that moment, it clicked. He knew. He knew she was cheating, and I'd bet my life he knew with whom. His eyes followed Lena like a man who had seen her naked far too many times to pretend otherwise. And she? She avoided looking at him for more than a second, like they had made a silent agreement to keep things cool. But it was there. The guilt. The tension. The buried hunger. And I was done watching. I had planned this moment for 2 weeks. Every frame, every line, every second. "Everyone, can I have your attention?" I said, clinking my glass gently. The room quieted, all eyes on me. Rachel smiled. What's up, Noah? I took a breath. My hands were shaking, but I gripped the microphone tighter. Before we raise our glasses for Rachel and Daniel, I just want to say how grateful I am to be part of this family. Especially to my wife, Lena. She turned to me, smile bright, eyes slightly wide. Nervous. I want to say, thank you. For the 12 years we've shared. For the life we've built. And for teaching me something I never expected to learn. Pause. Like how to spot a lie. Murmurs rippled. Lena's smile twitched. Or how to find strength when the woman you love gives herself to someone else, someone standing in this very room. Now it was dead silent. All eyes swiveled between Lena and Daniel. Rachel's smile dropped. Lena's face turned white. Daniel coughed, tried to chuckle, but it came out cracked. You see, I continued, trust is like glass. You can't unbreak it. And secrets? They rot from the inside out. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the USB drive. This little stick contains video footage. Screenshots. Text messages. Everything you need to know about what's been happening while I was working late. Or when packages were being delivered to our doorstep. Lena gasped. Rachel stared at Daniel, frozen. I walked to the living room TV, already set to receive the drive. Plugged it in. Pressed play. The room filled with gasps. On screen, Lena opening the door in that same green dress 2 weeks earlier. The Courier now fully visible. Their embrace. Her pulling him in. Kissing him. Then the bedroom door closing. I had blurred the worst parts. I wasn't going to humiliate her that far in front of her family. But it was enough. More than enough. Daniel looked like he'd seen a ghost. Rachel slapped his face so hard the crack echoed across the room. You bastard, she screamed. Lena, is this true? Her mother whispered, tears forming. Lena's lip trembled. She looked around, suddenly small, cornered. Noah, please. I held up a hand. I didn't do this to shame you. I did this because truth deserves light. And I deserve better than a woman who treats our marriage like a side dish. Then I turned to Rachel. I'm sorry you had to find out like this. But you deserve to know too. The party was over. People scattered. Daniel tried to follow Rachel, but she shoved him away. Lena stood frozen, mascara running. And me? I walked out. Not with anger. Not with hate. But with peace. Because finally, the weight was lifted. The truth was no longer mine alone to carry. But the story doesn't end there. Because betrayal doesn't evaporate in one night. It lingers. And so did she. The days that followed were a blur, a hollow blur filled with unanswered calls, awkward silences, and 1,000 versions of I'm sorry. Lena moved back in with her parents temporarily. Or at least, that's what she said. I didn't ask. Didn't care. After the anniversary disaster, I didn't want to hear her voice. Not her cries. Not her explanations. Not even her pleas. But of course, she showed up. 3 days later, at 7:42 p.m. I'll never forget that time. It was the first night I actually managed to sleep since the reveal. I just poured myself a drink when I heard the knock. It wasn't the kind of knock you answer with anger. It was soft. Hesitant. Like someone begging for mercy before you even open the door. I knew it was her. I opened it anyway. She stood there in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, hair in a loose bun. For a moment, I remembered the girl I met 13 years ago, back when things were still pure. But that girl was gone. I wanted to see you, she whispered. I didn't move. Why? Because I made a mistake. I laughed. It wasn't joyful. More like dead laughter. A mistake is forgetting our anniversary. Sleeping with your sister's husband? That's a goddamn campaign of betrayal. She flinched. I didn't plan it, Noah, it just happened. I was lonely. You were always working. There it is, I snapped. The excuse. The classic one. You were too busy, so I opened my legs for someone else. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but I didn't feel anything. She stepped forward. I know what I did. I hate myself for it. I've been replaying that night over and over in my head. Which one? There were multiple, weren't there? Her silence said it all. I walked away from the door. Left it open. Sat down on the couch. She walked in. For hours, we talked. No yelling. No screaming. Just the cruel dissection of a dying marriage. She told me how it started. How Daniel flirted at a barbecue. How she brushed it off at first. But one night, when Rachel was out of town, she went to drop something off. A bottle of wine, some leftover decor for the party. And then, it happened. She swore it was just once. But her eyes betrayed her. It wasn't once. It was repeated. It became their secret addiction. Their filthy routine under the noses of those who loved them most. I wanted to stop, she whispered. But I felt alive for the first time in years. That cut me deeper than anything else she said. Because I realized I hadn't made her feel alive in a long, long time. And still, I didn't take the blame. I owned my faults. But her choices? They were hers. I gave you loyalty, I said quietly. Even when I was exhausted. Even when I was drowning in work, I never turned to anyone else. She looked broken. I don't know who I am anymore, she said. I sighed. You're the woman who blew up 2 families for a few nights of feeling wanted. She left that night with one bag and a heart full of shame. I didn't stop her. I didn't kiss her. I didn't say goodbye. But I didn't file for divorce either. Not yet. Why? Because part of me wanted to see how far she'd go to fix what she broke. The following week was a circus. Daniel tried to contact me. I ignored him. Rachel filed for divorce. Moved out with their 2 kids. Told Lena she'd never speak to her again. My phone buzzed constantly. Calls. Messages. Even a handwritten letter from Lena's mom asking me to forgive, just once. But I wasn't ready to forgive. And Lena? She kept coming. Showing up at my office. Leaving notes in my car. Sending voice messages in the middle of the night, whispering apologies through tears. But the one thing that haunted me more than her betrayal? Was the one truth I couldn't shake. I still loved her. God help me, I still loved her. One night, she showed up again. This time, she didn't knock. She used the spare key she somehow still had. I found her in the kitchen, cooking. Like nothing happened. Noah, please, she said, trembling. Let me just make you dinner. Like I used to. I should have thrown her out. But I didn't. Because sometimes, the heart chooses poison over emptiness. And that's where things got dangerous. Because forgiveness is a loaded gun and I was just starting to cock the hammer. I don't know how much time passed after Lena cooked that dinner. It felt like a strange, distorted version of reality, as if we were both living in 2 parallel worlds at once, the one where she was the woman I loved and the one where she was a stranger who tore my life apart. She looked so fragile. So desperate. The kitchen was quiet except for the clinking of utensils and the occasional sigh that escaped her lips. You didn't need to do this, I muttered, my voice cold but wavering. I just wanted to remind you of who I was. Before all of this happened, she said, placing a plate in front of me, her hands shaking. I stared at the food, my appetite long gone. The aroma filled the room, but all I could think about was the taste of betrayal. I pushed the plate aside. You don't get it, Lena. You don't get it at all. Her eyes welled up with tears again. She sat down across from me, pulling her chair in close. But I didn't move. I don't know how to fix this, she whispered. I don't know how to undo what I've done. But I want to. I'll do anything, if you'll just. Anything? I interrupted her sharply. You want to fix this by pretending everything is okay? By pretending this was just some stupid mistake you made? It's not, Lena. It's not even close. She looked down at her hands, trying to steady herself. I know. I know it's not a mistake. But I need to make it right. I need you to believe me again. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping harshly against the floor. I can't believe you, Lena. Not after everything. Her voice cracked. Please, Noah. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I need you to give me a chance to show you that I can change. I want us back. I'll do whatever it takes. I turned my back to her. The words cut through the air like knives. I wanted to scream. To make her feel what I was feeling, the suffocating weight of knowing that everything I thought I had was a lie. But I stayed silent, a mix of rage and confusion battling inside me. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. I didn't know if I even cared. I need time, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. I need to think. I don't know what I want, Lena. I don't know if I can keep living like this. The silence that followed was deafening. She didn't try to say anything more. She didn't beg. She just sat there, broken, waiting for the verdict that she knew was coming. The following days were a blur of emptiness. Lena continued to show up at my house, at my office. Sometimes I ignored her. Sometimes I let her in. We talked, but the conversations were sterile, rehearsed. She was still apologizing, still pleading for a second chance. But no matter how many times she said she was sorry, it never felt like enough. It wasn't until a week later that things took another dark turn. I was sitting on the couch late one evening, scrolling through some emails on my phone, when I heard a knock at the door. I stood up, heart pounding, dreading that it would be her again. But when I opened it, it wasn't Lena. It was Daniel. I froze. His smug grin only deepened my anger. Hey, Noah. Can we talk? I didn't answer. I just stepped aside, my fists clenched by my sides. He didn't deserve my words. He didn't deserve the time. Look, I'm not here to make excuses, he said, stepping into the living room. But I just want you to understand something. What happened, it wasn't planned. Lena and we were both messed up. I didn't think it would go this far. I couldn't breathe. The betrayal had now come full circle. The man who had once been a friend, a part of our family, had crossed every line there was. Save it, I growled, my voice trembling with fury. You knew exactly what you were doing. You knew this would tear everything apart. He took a deep breath, his face growing serious. I'm sorry for what I did. I really am. But I'm not sorry for her. I never was. I didn't understand what he was trying to say at first. His words hit like a ton of bricks. You never were? I echoed, almost laughing in disbelief. So, what, this was all a game to you? You never cared about her? He looked away, as if gathering his thoughts. Noah. I care about her more than you can imagine. But I also know she's not the person you think she is. And you're not the man you think you are either. The words rang in my ears, his accusations ringing like church bells at the worst possible time. I think you should leave, I said, my voice calm but dangerously low. He didn't argue. He didn't need to. He knew there was nothing left to say. As he turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of him, of the man who had once been my brother-in-law, walking out the door with his tail between his legs. Later that night, Lena came to the house again. She knocked softly, but it felt like a thunderclap. I opened the door, my body stiff, my mind blank. She stood there, wringing her hands, her eyes pleading. "Where is he?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "He left," she said, her words coming out in a rush. He said you needed to hear it from him. That he never wanted to hurt you. But I didn't want to hear it anymore. I didn't want to listen to her excuses or his. The truth was right in front of me. It had been all along. The days that followed Daniel's departure were long and suffocating. I couldn't escape the image of him standing there, smug and self-assured, telling me how he never cared for Lena. He'd known me for years, been a part of my family, my life, and now this. I spent the following day in silence. I didn't go to work. I didn't answer phone calls. I stayed in my office, the lights dimmed, my thoughts running in circles. There was no escape from the storm inside me. It was that evening when Lena knocked again, her presence barely felt through the thick fog of my emotions. I opened the door without saying a word, letting her in. She stood there, her body trembling, her eyes red from the tears she'd shed. For a moment, I wondered if it was the guilt or the fact that she couldn't even look me in the eye anymore. Maybe it was both. "You've been avoiding me," she said softly, her voice almost breaking. "You haven't answered my calls. Please, Noah, we need to talk." I nodded, though my stomach twisted at the thought of anything more. More apologies? More lies? But there she was, desperate for my attention, desperate to explain herself once again. "What's left to say?" I asked, my voice harsh and cold. "You've already done enough." She took a step forward, closing the distance between us. No, I haven't. I haven't done nearly enough to make this right." I couldn't look at her anymore. I walked to the window, gazing out at the street below. My breath came out in heavy sighs as I tried to steady myself. "Lena, you've ruined everything," I whispered, staring out at the view that had once brought me peace. "Everything. You betrayed me with my own brother-in-law. You crossed a line that I can't even see anymore." Her voice trembled as she spoke. "It wasn't supposed to be this way. I never wanted to hurt you. I swear I didn't. But it happened. I don't even know how it happened. It was a mistake. A horrible, horrible mistake." I could hear her crying, but the tears didn't move me anymore. How many times had I heard her say that? A mistake? She had never once said she was sorry for him. For Daniel. For what they had done to me, to us. The guilt wasn't shared equally. You don't get it, do you? I turned, my hands shaking now, my chest tight with a mixture of rage and betrayal. "I'm not just angry at you, Lena. I'm angry at myself. For trusting you, for loving you, for believing in something that turned out to be a lie." She flinched, her body recoiling from the truth in my words. But she didn't retreat. She came closer, as if drawn by some invisible force. "I don't know what to do," she said, reaching out for me. "I've lost you, haven't I?" For a moment, I felt something stir within me, a flicker of the old Noah who wanted to forgive. The Noah who thought that love could conquer all. But that version of me felt like a ghost, haunting the wreckage of my life. "Yes," I said, my voice steady, but my heart breaking with every syllable. "You've lost me. You lost me the moment you decided that your affair with Daniel was worth the risk. You lost me the moment you chose to hurt me." I saw her face crumple with the weight of my words. She fell to her knees, her hands clutching at the floor, her body trembling as if the universe itself was crushing her. "Please, Noah. Please," she begged, her voice raw and desperate. "I can't live without you. I love you. I've always loved you. I know I can never take it back, but I'm so sorry. I'll do anything. I'll do anything to make it right." I felt nothing. Or maybe I felt everything at once. But whatever it wasn't enough. "Lena," I said, my voice shaking, "you've already made your choice. You chose him. And I'm not going to be the one to pick up the pieces when it's too late." I walked out of the room without another word. The door slammed behind me, the sound of it echoing through the empty house, as if closing off the life I once knew. The next day, I filed for divorce. There was no ceremony, no dramatic confrontation. It wasn't necessary. The years of lies had already built their wall between us. The papers were signed, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on my chest. Lena tried to reach out to me, of course. She left messages, begged me to reconsider. But I didn't return her calls. I didn't need to hear it anymore. There was nothing left to say. It was over. Months passed. The scars remained, but I learned to live with them. The house was quieter, emptier. I spent my time at work, trying to rebuild what felt broken inside me. There were days when I questioned myself, wondering if there was a way I could have fixed it. But those thoughts faded with time. Lena moved out. She left the town, her attempts to salvage anything from our marriage slipping further into the past. She tried to start over in a new city. Maybe it would be different for her. Maybe she would find what she had lost. But it didn't matter to me anymore. As for Daniel, I never saw him again. Not once. His absence in my life was a relief. No more lies. No more betrayal. No more games. But even as I tried to move on, the memory of the woman I had loved lingered. Her face, her voice, her touch, all of it seemed like a dream now, distant and unreachable. And in that distance, I found the closure I needed. The truth had been laid bare. And so had I.